everybody out there listening, a very warm Whitecat welcome, because you're tuned in to the Whitecat Outdoors podcast. Welcome everybody to episode 6 of the Whitecat Outdoors podcast. We got a pretty special show tonight. We're all down here at the Harrisburg show. So I'll introduce everyone here we got with us. We have 2 guests, but first you got me, White, and straight across from me you got Nick.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Over here to my right we got my father, the man, Frank Myers.
Good evening, everybody.
And over to my left we got the other man, Brad Barron.
Hey, good evening, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for coming, guys. We really appreciate having you. So, like I said, we're down here at the Harrisburg show. So hopefully you guys, there's some of you out there listening or walking around the show, come over and break up the monotony during the week for those two. I'm hanging out in the booth with them tomorrow, and I was there all day today. But if you're wandering around during the week, make sure you come hang out with them and give them somebody to talk to.
Where are you going to be able to find them at, White?
It's in the Outfitters Hall in booth 6022.
That's Alaska Elite Outfitters.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically what we're going to be going over tonight. We're going to be talking a little bit about Harrisburg and mostly about how Brad and Dad got into guiding and what exactly they do up in Alaska.
All right. So, first of all, like I said, we got Frank, my Uncle Frank, and Brad Barron. Both you guys, how long have you guys been guiding?
Oh, we've been doing this for 20 years or better now.
Yeah, it's all of 20.
I think your first year was like 99 or something. I was a little kid when you first started.
Yeah, I believe it was 1999 was the first year that I got up. And, Brad, you followed, a year or two later?
It was the second. Well, the following year I went in to start my thing. So I actually, 2 years later, I got my guide license. But I went that following year with Paulie.
Yep.
On that bear hunt, and we did that fall. Well, I came in with Smokey.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I did the fall hunt with Smokey, then I had to get my 60 days.
So that,
or 30 days. So that fall or that spring, I jumped in. Paulie and I did that bear hunt on the coast. That was when you found the walrus tusk and the walrus, mammoth tusk and all that kind of beachcomb stuff. We had a hell of a hunt there.
I remember that. You got a lot of cool shit that day.
Yeah, the dead walrus. Well, it wasn't dead yet, and we.
You're not supposed to tell him that, Brad.
Well, we had nothing to do with it.
That's what they all say.
The cop even told us it was out there, and it was like. Yeah, there's a walrus out there got washed up in a storm. It was, and it was a big old bull walrus. Had some nice tusk on it and everything. And everyone, the whole village, anyone with a super cub's flying the damn coastline to watch a walrus
die.
So it looked like probably first weekend of spring break, most likely out on the beach.
Yeah.
Hell of a beach scene. And the dude that ended up going out there, and it was just before we went out to hunt, but Justin was a big trooper. He was in charge there, and he's like, yeah, there's a nice bear hanging out there. And this dude went out, and apparently there was people watching that walrus, and they saw it, they knew it was alive. Somebody landed, and they obviously killed the walrus and cut the mask off of it, which is the tusk, and took it. Well, now the walrus is dead. It's good for us to get on.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, you can go hunt bears over top.
Oh hell yeah! And it was a tasty meal on the beach. And we got there and we were watching it. And anyway, that's it. It was nuts. That was somewhere.
But you found a petrified tusk from a walrus while you're up there beachcombing too, didn't you?
Yes, we were hunting up there, and this before I had my license. I'm still trying to qualify, and Paulie and I walked that, beachcombing, and I bet we got about 200 or 300 of them glass corks, the Chinese corks from the fish nets. Paulie found the big ones. Mm-hmm. He found a couple big ones. I got most all the little normal ones. We're kicking along the beach, and by Jiggly, I'm looking, I kick this thing, I look down, and Paulie and I are together, and I look down, like, holy cow, you know what that is? We're both looking at it, going like, that's a freaking mammoth tusk. It was
That thing's about, the piece you found was about 3 feet long, wasn't it?
yeah, it wasn't that long. It's
It was a pretty good size
it's
chunk.
20 inches or so.
Yeah.
You know, but it's big around. You know, it's a nice chunk.
Mm-hmm.
We're standing there. We picked that damn thing up, and I'm looking like 10 feet out in front of me on the beach. Here's laying a petrified tusk. That's a big tusk, and this is a big old walrus tusk.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, holy smokes! You know, how does that happen? You know?
Better to be lucky than good.
Yeah, exactly. It was, but this is early in the career, getting started with it, you know. And I guess how.
Yeah,
I
what
don't
better
know- I
way
don't
to
even know
get you
what the
hooked
damn
on it?
Question being, how long you been doing it or whatever. But and Whitey, your dad and I. The only thing we can say is we owe what we do to Paul Malone.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for him going on a brown bear hunt,
I was just gonna ask, like, how did you guys, get up there for the first time?
that Paul Malone, who Brad just mentioned, he went up on a brown bear hunt, and there's a whole story behind that got him up there. But
Divorce.
it involved the divorce.
Hey, Paulie, save your money. No.
Life short,
I'll
Paulie, write the
never
check.
go on a bear hunt if I don't buy it now. Okay.
So Paulie goes up on a spring brown bear hunt with a guy named Smokey Don Duncan of Alaska Private Guide Services. Well, like I said, spring brown bear hunt. He came back, I think, in October that year.
Yep.
And,
You said spring?
yes, he went on a spring brown bear hunt, came back in October.
But
So,
For about 3
the seasons
days.
are different in Alaska then?
well, they were for them. So obviously, long story short, Paulie and Smokey hit it off pretty good. Paulie ended up staying up there quite a bit and turned into a career for him. But in the process of that, Brad and I get to meet this Don Duncan who ran the guide service, and one thing leads to another. We end up there. Myself, the first year I got to go up there, one of the neighbors had booked a hunt with some friends, and last minute, literally, they were supposed to go on a hunt 5th of August for moose and brown bear, big combo hunt. And in the middle of August, their outfitter calls them and says, "Hey, I'm not taking any more hunters. You guys are done. I'll send you back your checks. You're on your own." Well, they had already had time off of work. They bought airline tickets. They bought licensing and tags. They had a lot of money invested.
Yeah, it's
And
not
now
just
they're
sending
told
your
they
check.
can't
And now,
go.
yeah, in August, 3 weeks, 4 weeks from going on this hunt, the outfitter backs out on them. And I happened to bump into one of the guys, like I said, he was a neighbor of my parents, and kind of told me about it. I said, well, heck, we kind of know a guy up there that those dates line up on. If you want, I'll put you in touch with him. So we made a phone call and got a hold of Smokey and got them in touch with these three guys that wanted to go moose and brown bear hunting. And in return, Smokey asked if I'd come up and help out in camp because it left him short-handed. Just
Yeah,
camp
you gave
bitch.
him a whole bunch of work that he wasn't
Yeah.
ready for.
And as things grew from that, a couple of years later, Brad had time to come up. We needed more help. Brad came up, and it ballooned into, it's one of them, you fall in a pile of shit, come out smelling like a rose thing. And here we are 20-some years later.
Sitting at a booth in Harrisburg
Sitting
getting
at a
more
booth
guys.
in Harrisburg working for another outfitter.
Well, actually, yeah, that's kind of a funny story how you
Yeah,
guys...
because
even-
we've worked for several outfitters over the years,
And it's this show that actually got you guys hooked up with Alaska Lead Outfitters, correct?
Correct. Yeah, last year, Whitey talked me into coming down here.
Yeah, he didn't even want to come down because, like, you and I had planned to come down, and you came down the day before, and, I was talking to my dad. I was like, I'm going to go down to the show. You want to come down with me and Nick? He's like, yeah, no, I don't really feel like going wandering around down there. I was like, come on, just come down with me. And at this point, Smokey had gotten out of the guiding
you were
business.
pretty much done guiding for a year or two at this point.
Yeah, we had.
Yeah, the previous fall, he didn't go up
That's-
to
yeah.
Alaska. So, I talked him into coming down, and we're walking around, and he's talking to different people, and we walk up to Mike's booth with Alaska Lead Outfitters, and, he comes up, he doesn't really say anything to him at first. He grabs a brochure, and he's looking, and Mike's like, my dad asked, where about are you hunting at? And he said, we're hunting the Nushagak River drainage. My dad's like, yeah, I'm a little bit familiar with it.
Try not to be too cocky, I'm sure. Like,
Yeah, definitely.
you
Just
grew up the
talking,
last
yeah.
20 years there. Like,
Yeah.
You gotta let him make an ass of himself.
Yeah. Exactly.
We've been there.
Yeah, so Mike, he's like, oh, yeah, you been on a hunt up there or something? My dad's like, I've been guiding up there for about 20 years now, and immediately the pen came out, what's your guide license number, give me your phone number, address, everything, and are you available this fall?
knew we shouldn't have come here.
Well, it was funny because as soon as he asked if I was available, his next question was, "Do you know anybody else?" And I was like, "Oh, actually, yes, I do."
Know quite a few people, actually.
So in
Now
my
the
little
guinea
pea-
pig comes in.
Exactly. So in my little pea brain, the gears start turning. Not that I'm the brightest guy in the world, but gave him Brad's number there and said, "Brad, you might want to go up and check this guy out this spring and do a brown bear trip with him and see how things
And those
work
are in
out."
October, you said?
Well, this was a spring hunt.
The seasons and everything.
Yeah. So Brad went up last spring, and you guys had a pretty good season up there
It
last
wasn't
spring.
too bad. It was a nice season. I mean, it started out rough, but I wasn't used to that kind of a hunt. A spring hunt on a river, no baits involved. You're looking for baits or dead moose.
Yeah,
or
dead
something,
moose laying by the river.
Yeah.
There's really no fish to speak of, so you're relying on a dead moose. And I went up to the tundra. I was able to get to the tundra and look around and glass, and it was the tundra.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure in the
all of its
springtime,
glory.
I'm sure in the springtime you got like no blueberries and other things
No,
blossoming yet, so
Yeah.
there's nothing for them to chew on up there on the tundra.
No dead walruses this trip.
Yeah, no dead walruses, and it just kind of, it was, you were relying on that dead moose on the river.
No, but you guys had quite a bit of success, though. Really, I mean, you stop and think about it. It was tough
Yeah,
hunting,
we
but-
ended up finding like 3 moose, and we got bears on. We got a couple off of one, and let's see, they missed a dandy on one, which I ended up getting another. I got a dandy off of that area, which was probably the one they missed.
And that was
What
better.
a-
That bear was better than 9 foot. Wasn't
Yeah,
it
it was a 9.5 footer. It was.
Big old bear.
That is a big
Yeah.
one.
It was a dandy. It was beautiful. Hell, we had that bear within 20 yards of us. When it walked down, you couldn't really see it. You knew it was there, and then it hit the river. It's like, we don't want to shoot in the river yet.
Yeah. You mean you didn't want to drag them up out of the river?
No, let them cross. But, yeah, it was nuts. But it was a good hunt.
Good deal.
And that's Mike not knowing me and me not knowing Mike, and how I was trained to hunt with Smokey, which Frank and I, we beat our heads off of trees and everything trying to figure out what his reasoning was sometimes, and the guy had a system and it worked, and he was successful, and he was
It more than worked. I mean,
Yeah,
nobody could touch Smokey's success rates on anything.
yeah.
I mean, for all the craziness that took place, we killed a lot of critters, and a lot of nice critters.
Yeah,
You
so I
know,
never
and it
got-
wasn't always about the kill, though. I'm just talking about the business himself, though, too.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, no,
the
Smokey-
self-preservation, not killing yourself, trying to do something. You don't have to. You know,
Yeah.
and the running around.
Yeah, I mean, you talk to a lot of people that are guides up in Alaska, and they talk about how grueling a lot of it is. And, just working with you guys this fall, people talk about packing moose for miles and stuff. And, when I hunt with you two, it's like you guys are just calling these moose right to the river bottom, and you're making as little work of it as possible. You want these moose to come right to you on the river so you can pull a boat within 100 yards of them, if at all possible. That's not always going to happen, but that's what you strive for, to make as little work as possible.
Well,
hell
we've,
yeah.
we've had our packs
Yeah.
from hell.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you
The
have.
packs from hell were there, and they could have been up there. And we've learned with time, you don't have to do that. Now, I drew a blank this year on the moose hunt. And it hurts to do that. I mean, the one that I did have, it was probably a legal moose, but man, that's a tough call to make.
Yeah,
for
for sure. You don't want
sitting
to, that's
on
not a
river
mistake
and
you
got,
want to
like,
make.
30 seconds to call this thing before it jumps into the willows, and you're going. And I kicked myself in the ass every day thinking about that. When I think about it, is like, that moose was legal, but was it legal?
Yeah, but you don't want to make that snap judgment and be wrong.
No, you're screwed if you do.
So that's a big scar on your
safe
resume.
and sorry. And the guy was great with it. He felt the same way. But that shooting them close to the river, or bring them to you is a smart thing to do. We've had our packs from hell. I mean, we'll probably.
I think
end up
you're still mad at me for that one up on the King Salmon.
I got over it after the bear with Super Mike. I was like, that wasn't that bad.
I let a client talk me into walking halfway across the state of Alaska one time to go chase a moose that he had seen. I never saw this animal.
Oh my goodness!
And you trusted him, huh?
And I trusted
the guy,
client.
yeah.
Well, one thing led to another. We ended up killing a moose, and it was literally 5 miles from anything. And
but there was a drainage there.
Brad drew the short straw to go help me get it. Well, we ended up all tangled up in a beaver swamp mess and lost the boat and walked back to camp at 2:00 in the morning. It was a disaster.
And none of you out there know Brad. Brad's not exactly a big guy. Brad, what are you, 5'5"?
Okay, White, give me another inch anyway.
So this is a podcast. You don't have to see him. You can tell.
Yeah.
I'm not a big guy, 6'2".
But really, you throw 100 pounds of moose meat on your back, you're working hard, walking that 5 miles out of there.
Yeah. The moose leg was 4.5 feet over my head. Coming off the pack.
But that was about the most miserable deal. We had this little Walmart raft that Smokey gave us to float this thing down this little creek that wasn't any wider than the Walmart raft.
Well, and then the air pump was junk. It didn't work, so we ended up blowing this raft up
with our lungs.
Only took about 8 hours.
It went pretty quick, but we're sitting there. In the meantime, Whitey, your dad is sicker than a dog. And he's got his lips wrapped around this. Okay,
who's next?
your turn. You can blow in I ain't gonna say, I'm like, Frank, I really don't want to blow on that, right? He kind of looked at me and he looked up off his knees and, it was a
snot hanging out of my nose.
Like, I gotta have all I got. Brad, it's your turn.
Yes, I don't blame you. I'll finish.
We spent the whole day going back up in there to get that moose this client shot. And in the end, didn't get it all the way back to camp the first day we went up there. Not really lost the boat, but where we ended up was a mile away.
Nowhere near the boat.
Nowhere near the boat, a mile away, different braid of the river. Had to go back the next day with another boat to get that boat, to come back down the river and go back to where we had left the moose carcass the day before. It was...
real simple process.
Oh, yeah.
So, it sounds like an easy day.
Yeah, pack from hell. That's all.
Well, I appreciate you guys getting that learning experience out of the way before you brought me up.
Yeah, you saw how much nicer things work now, didn't you?
I didn't have to put a backpack on to carry any moose meat. I literally just picked it up and carried it 10 feet
Parked
to the boat.
next to a dead moose. What more could you ask for?
That's a perfect, back in my day, school was uphill both ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Frank's picking them up out of the water,
Yeah. Why'd we buy pack frames? You just load the moose in the boat.
One of my
What
favorites.
do I need this $400 pack frame for?
Right.
You're gonna learn. One day you'll need it.
One of my
You'll
favorite.
appreciate it.
One of my favorite stories my Uncle Frank was telling me is, you get that guy that's gung-ho about, the more you walk, the better your hunt's going to be kind of thing. So you take them on that loop the first day.
Just burn them out.
Get it out of their system day one.
Yeah, you're not hunting. You tell them you're hunting, but you're not hunting. You're just going to
We're going to go up around this ridge here.
How far can we go in 12 hours?
Usually settles them right down, you said.
Oh, yeah. Calms them right out. There you go. How's that?
Then they're all about the river hunting.
Can't we do that boat thing again?
Yeah, some of the guys down camp, their moose was right in the river by camp.
But you get those guys that think that the more ground you cover, the better our chances are. We got to cover ground. We got to go, and
sometimes that's just not the case.
Yeah, there's an old saying in hunting: it's better to cover a little bit of ground well than a lot of ground poorly. And there's just
nope.
It's a
absolutely.
Yeah,
great
there's
lesson
so
learned.
much truth to that.
Yes.
Over hunting it. We were babbling about it all day today.
Yeah.
Just
Guys want to go
kinda-
tearing through the bush, and you'll do more damage than
They
good.
get mad you're not doing anything, and when you're in Alaska doing a hunt, 9 times out of 10, as soon as you unzip that zipper in your tent and you stick your head out that door, you better start looking.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're making noise and drinking whiskey and banging bottles or farting in a shitter box.
Yeah.
You're hunting. You're friggin' hunting because they're
this
right
past
there.
fall, we had a moose come right into camp, 100 yards from the tent.
How many pictures did you get of that moose?
Oh, yeah, and
100
I
yards from
could
the
have,
tent?
been 20 yards from that thing.
Man,
And then the next day after, it was the day before, we had 4 bears come right across the river from camp.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
like you guys, like I said, I'm the inexperienced one in the group here, but you got the moose are. I mean, they're a monstrous animal, which everybody knows. You're not really afraid of people, are they? I mean, they get that close because it's.
I don't want to say they're not afraid, because they will shy away from you. I mean, if you go mucking up their neighborhood, they will vacate. But at the same time, they're not skittish like a whitetail.
Okay, so compared to a whitetail, which most of the people listening are very familiar with whitetail hunting.
Yeah.
So compared to them, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I think if you were in a truly untouched area, you could go into a moose. You could probably do it with a whitetail, or any animal, because if they were in an area where a human ain't messing with them,
on a regular basis.
On a regular basis, they'd be like, "What the hell are you doing here?"
Yeah, it's more
They'd stand there-
curiosity.
Yeah, this is my
you
spot.
could go
What are
in
you
there
doing
with
here?
a bongo and bang on it, and a bull rutting would be coming over going, "Why are you over here? I'm rutting."
I was going to say, that's a funny story, because you and Dad have talked about it. I haven't experienced it yet. You're talking about, like, packing up camp, and you're banging around in boats and stuff. And those moose are just so curious, for one, and pissed off because they're rutting. They hear that banging around in the boat, and they think, son of a bitch, there's another bull over there getting in my territory. And you've had them come right to the boat with you.
They're right to the boat, and it's weird. You hear a million stories of the chopping firewood. And that bull that you took the pictures of in camp that day, that's kind of what he was doing.
We were chopping firewood in camp, splitting wood.
We were out there splitting wood and banging. The next thing I went down to the boat to gas up. I'm like, "Hey, we got a bull down here on the river. Send me a gun. I need a gunner."
He was on the
too
radio.
small,
He
but-
came over the radio, and we're sitting in the cook tent with the radio in the cook tent, and Brad comes on his walkie-talkie. He's like, someone bring a gun down to the river, please.
You put a hop in that
Hunter and a
step.
rifle.
Now, put a little pepper in your step, bud. We got a situation here.
Yeah.
No, but
Take
when
your
that-
time. I got nothing going on. Whenever you get the chance, bring one down.
No, but when them moose get ready, I mean, they'll come to almost anything. I mean, we've had guys walking through the woods. You stop, someone needs something out of their backpack. I can't imagine what they need so bad 5 minutes away from dinner and boat.
Snickers bar for
Yeah,
sure.
they need a Snickers bar all of a sudden. But they stop, unzip the zipper, and just that zip of a zipper, I've witnessed it fire up a bull, and he come off that crazy little sound. And I don't know if to him it sounded like just a quick rake
Snap
up
of
a
a
tree,
tree
or something. And
So you're
boom.
saying keep candy bars in the old backpack just for that reason?
No, actually, I wish you'd quit playing with your backpacks when we're
Yeah, just start zipping and unzipping that zipper as soon as you get into your stand.
But we killed a 55-inch legal bull, and it fired up off the sound of a backpack zipper, and bang! All of a sudden, that's what all it took, and he fired up. But he was that ready that any sound in his neighborhood.
That's what
Yeah.
impresses me the most about moose is how aggressive they do get when they're rutting like that.
Yes. Oh, and you even asked Brad. We've talked about it. They let us hunt the 5th through the 15th in our area.
Okay.
And
Of what month are you guys up there?
September.
September.
And it's a pre-rut kind of deal. You know, they don't give us the main rut. You know, if they would let us hunt from the 20th through the 30th of
Be a whole
September.
different story.
You know, I've always said that we'd probably kill every moose in the state because when they get ready, they get as dumb as you can imagine. You know, and but that pre-rut, they can be pretty challenging because they're quiet. They don't make as much noise.
Which is crazy to think of an animal of that size going through Alaska can go silently without like being detected.
Yeah,
Like the same thing. It seemed like a bear or a whitetail, and like you think you're sitting in your stand, you feel like you're super keen on everything that's going on around you, and you turn over and there's a doe or something like at your feet, and it's like, where the hell did you come from?
Yeah, you know, and when you think of a moose, you know, they're a 1,000-pound, 1,500-pound animal with 70 inches of antler hanging off their head, and then all of a sudden, how the hell did he get right in front of me? You know,
Yeah,
they
like,
come
where did
through
you
them
come from?
willows dead silent.
That's like that one Sarah got that
Yeah.
year, Smokey. They pull a boat into a slough that isn't any wider than this room, which is 10 feet wide. I mean, the boat just barely fits up through the channel. They parked the boat. They went in on step, which is, if you don't understand what on step is, that's full throttle. And then you just cut the gas and coast into the bank. And they sat there about a minute, and they were getting themselves ready, and you know, Smokey's going to do a little walk in this secret hole. And Sarah stood up, and her knee hit the oar on the side of the boat, and that oar goes clunk on the side of the boat. And instantaneously, as soon as that oar clunked, that bull lit up, and he was less than 40 yards away from him, and he came right to the boat. And he was going to sink the boat because
He was fired up. That was
somebody
his
was where
spot.
they weren't
somebody
supposed to be.
clunked an antler within 40 yards of his zone, and he was pissed.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah, and Smokey's standing there looking, going, shoot, and she's still loading her gun. And she shot, and then Jimmy shot, and Smokey shot, and, you know, she hit it, and it was dead when she hit it, but, you know, it was pretty interesting. It's amazing how aggressive
They can
and
get.
kind of, you know, you want to say stupid, but they're not.
They're not stupid. They're
by any
they're
means.
getting aggressive because they're protecting what's theirs.
Exactly. It's just kind of crazy.
When it comes to like calling with them, is like obviously it sounds like they're way more responsive than a whitetail. I mean, is it quite like turkey hunting almost, like with how responsive they are to calling, or not? Kind of almost in between the two.
I'd say they're a little less responsive than turkeys.
Because the way you were
Myself.
describing it sounds like, you know, you make some noise and all they're firing up.
I've always related it to turkey. I don't know if they're as responsive.
I think a lot of it just depends on how ruddy they are.
Yeah.
You know, if they're really ruddy, they fire up. I mean, and the noise starts, the snot's coming out of their nose, they're busting branches.
Well, that's
and
a
then,
good hot one.
You know,
But
but then early in the season, I mean, how many times, Brad, have you'll get one little,
Yeah, you get
and he'll just like tell you, I'm here and I heard you. And then that's it. He just goes quiet for the rest of the morning, or he'll just give one little clunk on a tree. You know, it all depends on the mood of that animal. Just how.
So I mean, like any.
And I'm sure, you know, at the same time of year, like today, you know, if you go hunting for moose, you know, you get that response like you were just talking about, that real docile response. Then you go to a different spot that same day, and you get one that's all fired up and pissed off. It depends on the animal.
It really does.
They have different personalities almost, like where one's might
Mm-hmm.
more aggressive of his territory than another one.
And it might be a younger animal that just.
Yeah.
It's I agree totally with you, Nick. It's a turkey type situation. If
Yeah,
anyone
I'm
hasn't
just
been on a
asking 'cause
moose hunt,
I've never got to moose hunt, but I've done quite a bit of turkey
talking
hunting.
to the mic, bud.
Oh yeah. Brad's the professional tonight.
I had to put that in there.
Thank you. Keep me in check tonight.
No, but it's exactly what you're saying. It is a lot. I'm not saying they're the same responses
I
or whatever,
what you're
but
saying.
It is
in
very
the
similar.
comparison to this, I've always, in my mind, compared it to that because it's, and I haven't turkey hunted around here in a long time because I just kind of got tired of it. But it's kind of the same deal.
You're essentially hunting a 1,500-pound turkey.
Exactly.
And the fun is when one gets fired up.
Well, that's what I like about turkey hunting so much is
Yeah.
just getting that gobbler fired up and pissing off a hen. That it sounds like it's like a similar, comparable. I don't want to say that Eastern turkeys and Alaskan moose are the same, but
but there are a lot of
similarities
there,
in the
yeah.
responsiveness to calling. Because I don't do a whole lot of calling for whitetail because I have not had like a buck, come in on a string like you do a turkey. And I get too excited when I'm deer hunting and, I get a buck that's like 100 yards out there and I start grunting like an idiot, like, rah, 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 like he's
This will bring him in for sure.
So I just stop bringing grunt tubes in the woods because I get myself in trouble.
Yeah. Well, it's
But
like,
it has worked sometimes too. You never know.
Oh yeah, I mean sometimes usually it's on the
I've
spike.
had
but
whitetails come in like they're on a rope to
Yeah.
a grunt or a bleat or a little bit of rattling.
Maybe I'm
and
missing
stuff.
something in my cadence.
Honestly, I think people get too carried away. They get too aggressive too soon.
Oh, I'm 100% guilty of that.
Yeah.
When it comes to
And-
whitetail.
And
I get bored sometimes, and I did it. I did it in the honey hole one year. I just sitting there. I mean, it wasn't a big buck, but it just sitting there, and usually
it's still fun to play with any deer.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's a spike horn buck. If you can
Yeah.
talk to them and get them to respond, that's fun.
This one spot we hunted all the time. We'd laugh because it's just a natural funnel, and you just saw 'em, and nothing was happening. And I was just bored, and I was just sitting there, and I just started grunting. I just brat, 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 and I just kept going. I just kept doing it. Next thing I know, I'm sitting there. I heard something, and I can't hear for crap, but I hear something. And it's a real thick spot, about 40, 50 yards away from me. And I grunted, and the thing grunted back at me. Well, I just kept grunting at him. Well, it never showed himself, so I just kept grunting. I just brat, 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 And he finally stepped out, and there's this, he's just like a 6-point, and he walked right to me.
Yep.
And he's like looking around, like, where you at? And I'm going, I'm up here.
And I'm sorry, but that's
But
always
it
fun.
was-
I mean,
it
how
was-
is that not fun? I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
It was wonderful. I'm going to myself, everyone's like, oh, you just got to grunt once. And I don't know what the secret is. I couldn't tell you what the secret is to grunting a deer up.
John Eves swears by 3 grunts. That's
Everyone's
every
got a
cadence is
system.
3 grunts.
and if
You know what?
if it
And
works
that's-
for you, do it. I mean,
That's
that's plain
probably
simple.
what happened one time for him. So 3 grunts, and that's when he quit.
Well, that was after he killed a absolute slob 10-point out of upstate New York, and
Well,
now
yeah.
his
But like I said, if it works for you, do it. Who am I to tell you that that's not the way to do it? Well, if you've had success with it, I'd keep doing it.
yeah he actually
I
he
guess
bought
if
that
you keep grunting, you'll get a little tiny 6-point walk in on you. I don't know.
he bought that grunt tube like hours before that hunt, killed that buck, and then taped the grunt tube to the ceiling, retired the grunt tube. He's like, all right, that's done. He's like, that grunt tube has done anything it could ever do for me. It's getting retired.
Its work is done.
I've
here.
done that.
Yeah, that was a fun little trip.
No, but you gotta find what works for you, and I don't care if it's a fishing lure, or a rifle, or a
Yeah.
grunt tube, or a bleak call, or whatever. But if it works for you and keeps you in the woods and makes you feel like you've got a better chance of killing something or having a good hunt, even if it doesn't result in killing something, if it keeps you in the woods, I'm gonna tell you to keep using it and keep doing it.
Yeah, that's a good point you brought up there with when you talked about guns and picking the gun that it builds your confidence and stuff. I want to hunt out west, and I've talked to you because you've done a few trips west of Pennsylvania in your day. So I asked you about rifles for big game, and your opinion on it and advice to me I thought was incredible, and I think more people could benefit from your opinion on selecting a rifle for western hunting. But
Well, the thing I usually tell people is the most important thing is bring a rifle you're comfortable with and you can shoot straight. Because a well-placed shot
Shot placement.
is worth a lot more than a big bullet in the ass.
Yeah, that's a fact.
So, if you match your bullet to your game, don't worry about the gun quite as much as the bullet itself.
yeah, your
And,
best advice I got from you is that there's not a single animal in North America that hasn't been killed with a spear.
In the world.
In the world, yeah.
There's not an animal on the planet that hasn't been killed with a spear.
So you can't tell me that any center fire rifle isn't
Right.
sufficient if it's placed correctly.
Correct. Now, the advantage of a big gun is that mediocre shot. You know, you're aiming for the heart and lungs, and you put one through the liver. Well, if I'm shooting at a moose, I'd much rather run my .338 through his liver than a .243.
Oh, correct. Yeah, there's benefits to it, but
correct.
I think guys get wrapped up in
But again, that well-placed shot is worth far more than a big bullet.
Yeah, I think guys get wrapped up, and that's the most important part of preparing for a hunt in Alaska. Is
I was going to say,
caliber.
I feel like most people, that's like one of their first questions they ask is like, what gun should I bring?
Yeah, how big a gun do I need? You need one you can shoot straight.
You know, 45-70 government.
Yeah. 405 grain bolt.
Springfield, they'd call it Damascus barrel, black powder.
We've had guys show up with $30,000 side-by-side European rifles that were, what was the one guy had that 570 nitro or something?
I don't know.
Oh.
The elephant gun.
And he couldn't have brought a worse gun to
Yeah, it's
to
good
go
for
hunt
about 20
moose and
yards.
brown bears, because they just don't match up to what we're doing.
Yeah, if he was sitting on the fishing hole like it could have happened, it would have been beautiful maybe. But in his situation, it didn't work out, so he wasn't ready for it.
All of a sudden he needed a gun that could shoot 150 to 200 yards, and the gun he was holding was designed to knock an elephant off its ass
60
at 60
yards.
yards. It didn't match up to what he was doing.
So obviously bigger is not always better when it comes to Alaska. Yeah.
That's not
When
what
it comes
she
to
said.
anything.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's even guys that say that you got to be bigger than a 243 for whitetail. But I've hunted my entire life with a 7mm 08, which is essentially a 243, and I've dropped many of my deer right in their tracks. It's just it's shot placement.
My
I
daughter and
seen
my
guys
wife dropped
kill a
both
lot
their
of
black-
deer with a 22.
Yeah,
I ain't saying that.
just saying.
Just saying.
I've heard stories.
I
back
heard
in
a
the day.
story
Shot
about a guy one
placement.
time. No, but that 7M08 you mentioned, my wife.
It was
and
a
daughter
Hornet.
killed-
They're illegal. 22 Hornet. Did I say that?
That's good now. It's good. But they killed their black bears with 7M08.
Up in Alaska, right?
Yeah, and they were 250, 300-pound bears.
Well, that and Whitey killed his with a bow. So
With a bow.
If he's killing with a bow, you can't tell me that your gun that you're hunting whitetail with is probably going to be just fine for a moose as long as you can shoot it correct,
Yes.
well.
We've had quite a few moose shot with 30-06s, 7MMs.
And like what you said, matching your bullet, you don't
That's
want
the
something
crucial.
that's going to
That's a
blow
whole
apart
that's
as
a
soon as it
science
gets into
when
the
it comes
skin.
to
You
that.
want something that's going to hold together and penetrate through
Mushroom
a moose
and
that's 3 feet thick.
Correct. Match your bullet to your game is far
Think
more
of your
important.
gun. You look at some of them natives out there, and even Eric's daughter, she's 8 years old, killed a big old cow moose. And they take their time. They aren't in a rush to get it. So they didn't pay $10,000, $20,000 for this
You
hunt.
say $10,000. Where did you find that Alaskan hunt?
Well, it was 20 years ago, bud. Grow up. You weren't even born
You say
yet.
I was at the show today and I didn't see
still
any
swimming.
at 10
They're going to get more expensive tomorrow, so book your hunt today.
Yeah, show special.
But-
But now,
She, the long and the short of it is they didn't pay. So I understand. I want this all to be right and good, and I don't want to have an excuse. My gun wasn't right. I mean, these are locals hunting, but you watch them hunt and you look at them, and they're out there with Ruger Mini 14s, and it's like a 223, and they're using Remy, or
Target
they're
load.
just using.
Whatever they could
They're
find.
using military ammo.
Yeah,
and it's
55 grain bullet.
yeah, a full metal jacket. And it's like, what are you doing? They go, shoot them in the pumpkin. You shoot them right in the head. You don't waste meat. They aren't trying to shoot 1,000 yards. They take their time, and they're going to shoot one at 30 yards. Now here's an 8-year-old girl dumps this beautiful cow moose, which is the best eating you're going to get. Shoots the thing in the head, and she's happier than a pig in poop.
Yep.
And it shot placement. That gun worked perfect. It's a little Ruger Mini 14. She had a 10-round magazine. She took one shot. Boom.
Yeah. She didn't need a 338 Lapua.
No, she didn't need nothing other than that.
Yeah.
And yet the other part about that is she had a smile on her face you couldn't knock off with a 2x4.
Yep.
It was beautiful. And it wasn't a big deal.
We've run into a lot of the natives up there hunting with their kids.
Yeah, they're all, they step back. Those guys up there, they get a bull running across a slough. They hand a gun to the littles. We were watching them this year.
That little kid this year, what was he, 9 years old?
He wasn't even. Yeah, he was
maybe
9.
7 or 9. He was young. I mean,
The,
he was
the little
a
boy
peanut.
was 7. I want to say the boy that killed the moose was 9 years old.
Yeah.
And he was just a tiny little guy. I mean, he had hip boots on that were coming
to
up
his ears.
over his ears. And he shot till the moose fell. And they're like, they had to jack the rounds in and hand him the rifle back. And he shot, and he finally hit it, killed it.
Beautiful little bull, good eating bull.
Yeah.
See, the natives they're killing for meat, correct? I mean,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
They're not really out there for trophy moose. They're
well,
literally
Nine
feeding
times
themselves.
out of 10, they don't even bring the antlers out.
Yeah. And
The
that
antlers stay
particular
right there
moose,
in the bank.
The antlers are still laying there when we left after our month of hunting.
Yep. Yeah, they're looking for meat. Period. End of story. Unlike a lot of us down here, we're hunting for the enjoyment of hunting. Hopefully we eat the meat and don't waste anything. I mean, I know everybody that's sitting in this room and our friends, we all enjoy eating.
I prefer
eating whatever
to-
we kill.
Yeah.
But to them it goes a little bit further. We don't have to shoot.
Yeah, we can
a
still
whitetail
we
to
could survive without it, but
It's crucial to their survival.
They're pretty good about making sure when they're going out to kill for the meat. That truly
Yeah.
is. I mean, they don't mind a trophy. They're
No,
happy to
I've
brag
seen,
about
I've seen
it.
a lot of natives bring out big sets of antlers
yeah.
off a trophy moose,
But they're laying in the yard.
Yeah.
Dogs are chewing on them. They're they're laying on some
and
shed
they
roof. Who
recognize something
cares?
real
They don't
special.
care anymore.
but it's meat.
Yeah.
So if you had to compare it, because the only moose I've ever had was pickled moose heart. If you had to compare it to whitetail that most people are eating around here, where would you put moose on the spectrum for eating purposes?
Moose is my favorite wild game.
Really?
Yeah, hands down, it's my favorite wild game. I
as
don't
far
know
as
where-
their meat, they all have a different.
No, I'm sure they're all
Taste to 'em,
different.
I
Yeah,
mean,
but I mean,
anyway.
so you
Yeah,
you prefer moose over whitetail or something?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd go moose over elk.
Yes,
For sure.
Moose is when it comes to wild game, moose is my
But,
favorite.
Just
like,
me,
would you
though.
compare it more to like a whitetail or more like beef?
I would go more beefy.
More beefy. Yeah.
Really?
Grain
Yeah,
is-
it's
it has a heavier grain.
much less gamey.
Yeah.
And the amazing part about that to me is, like I said, as a non-resident, the moose we're allowed to shoot are bulls, mature bulls over
Rutting.
50 inches, and coming into the rut, and that meat is still, to me, hands down better than any whitetail.
And it's not like
I've
they're
had.
sitting in
Correct.
cornfields and soybean fields.
No,
like a
they're eating
whitetail around
willow
here.
bushes and
Well,
aquatic
exactly. So I
plants
mean,
and-
imagine if you had them sitting on a corn pile.
and they're not a real gamey meat. They really
No.
are.
Wow. Like I said, I've only had them pickled, so it's tough to really give my opinion on
That's
Grandpa's
like
pickled.
smoking fish, Nick.
Yeah.
You can make anything
Yeah.
taste
Yeah,
good.
it tasted like
Smoke
a jar
it.
of pickles.
Oh, this is good. We'll smoke it.
It's fantastic.
No, you ain't smoking
Yeah,
my
you
moose's
pickle or smoke
backstrap.
anything you don't really care to eat. You just pickle or smoke it,
Pickle
and
it
you
or
can
smoke
stomach it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It was carp.
Yeah. As I remember, little Grandpa was like, "Oh, I got a jar of pickled moose heart here for you." It's,
Yeah.
You'd eat it. I mean, you can't really tell the
I
difference.
think you
but-
just ruined a perfectly good moose heart by pickling it myself.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're probably right. 'cause
It
I mean,
is a different thing to eat, though. It is neat.
Yes.
I didn't really get into it that much. A guy at work pickles all our deer hearts.
Does he?
We gave him about 50 deer hearts one year, and he just like, holy cow,
Brad, you're only allowed 2.
No, well, there's a whole
there's a
bunch.
lot of hunters.
There's 51 hunters.
Oh, okay.
There was 51 hunters. But he did a lot of deer hearts, and it was actually good. The way he did it,
Yep.
it was good, and everyone got a bunch, and
Cool. That's a good deal.
if you can, sometimes you just got to change all that stuff up when you're cooking it or processing or whatever. You make those bolognas and smoky sticks, and
See, our hearts from
some-
whitetail never make it that far for pickling. Those get cooked that night.
Same here in our house. It's like an onion and the heart and some butter,
Pan-fried butter,
and a little more butter, and then when you're all
Sometimes I
done,
bread
you put
it,
some more
yeah.
butter on it.
Of
Buttered
the cholesterol that's already in the heart you're eating.
That's what my heart's gonna look like.
So when you guys do harvest a moose up in Alaska, do you guys typically eat it at camp? Like, how does that work with the guy you're...
Hey, this ain't Halloween. We don't harvest them. We kill
Kill,
them.
okay. Yeah, we can say
ain't no
that. So
harvest.
you kill a moose up in Alaska.
Yeah.
You guys, cook it at camp? A little bit of it? Obviously, you're not going to eat an entire moose.
Yeah, it's. I don't think I've ever had anybody say he didn't want us eating any of his moose.
No,
it all comes down to the client. Obviously, it's their.
Yeah,
their
his
moose, but
his kill.
But everybody's always been like, oh, absolutely, we're eating good tonight. No more Mountain House.
Yeah.
The PBJs are getting put to the side tonight. We're eating moose steaks.
Yeah. And it's
That's-
amazing, sometimes you think you like to let that stuff try and age a little bit, but the day you shoot it, you eat it, and it come out
Like a little green meat to add music to camp.
Yeah.
It's almost like it takes the whole hunt full circle for me anyway.
It does.
You go out there, you hunt, you kill something, you bring it back, your buddies show up, for whitetail, you skin it out, you take that heart that night, the tenderloins, and you throw them on the grill that night. It kind of it brings everything full circle. Yeah.
And most of the hunters that come up, they want to enjoy that part of camp. They want to be.
That's hunting camp.
Yeah,
you harvest
absolutely.
something or kill something, you share it with everybody.
Yeah, it's all about.
Whoopee.
We need a better hotel. These chairs squeak.
Yeah, it's the floor. Frank's in a soft spot.
But
It's the first hotel I was able to pay cash with no credit card.
Well, they rent this place by the hour.
And the guy, he's like, how are you paying for this? And I didn't realize I had a choice. I've never been in a place I didn't have to run my credit card. And cash is fine. I'm like, okay.
Like you said, you knew something was up when he took your $50 or $60 and gave you $10 out of his pocket.
You say it didn't come out of a money
You think
box.
Uncle Sam's getting his share?
Yeah, we'll mail it. It's in the mail.
So when you coming up to Alaska with us, Nick?
I told Frank as soon as he gets officially licensed as a guide, that's when I'm going.
You want to go with him?
He's got to start somewhere.
Have you ever seen him run a boat?
I've seen pictures and I've heard stories. I heard it took him quite a while to get out of Ekwok up to where you guys were hunting.
Okay, that wasn't me running the boat. That was someone else's fault.
Yeah, pointing fingers at a guy that can't defend himself tonight.
He got himself a crash course in everything Alaska can be last year.
Unbelievable.
They were telling, where they learned to run a boat, it was pretty dicey water when they were coming up through it, but it was all shallow water. So, if you buried your boat, you weren't really sinking. You were, it wasn't the way you wanted to spend your day beached on a gravel bar, but you weren't in any serious trouble at the time. But where I'm learning on the Mulchatna River, you got all the same twists and turns and sweepers all over the place, but you got 8 feet of water to deal with. So if you turn a boat over or start taking on water, you're sinking the thing. It's going down.
It's going to get ugly fast.
So where they were able to make mistakes and it was like, that sucked. If I make the mistake, it's like, well, I might be dead.
Well, you don't really have to worry about that kind of thing, though. You guys have like state-of-the-art boats up there, though, so you wouldn't really have to worry about that.
I think that's how I'd describe them, state-of-the-art.
The Coast Guard doesn't even have what we drive.
Yeah, no,
they probably bought them from the Coast Guard back in the 60s.
Yeah. No, we just run jet boats. Some are like flat bottom jet boats, or a little bit of a V. They're
brand new motors on them.
Oh yeah, they're real brand new.
Brand new 9.9 Evan Roods and
state of the art. That's we're gonna stick with that.
It's state of the art.
Yeah, like when people talk about going up to Alaska,
that's why the hunts are $20,000. You got to pay for half a boat.
I'll tell you how nice the boats are. Brad got so fed up with one day, kicked it off the bank and sent it down the river all by its lonesome. 2 days later, another outfitter drug it back up to camp.
I ain't taking that piece of shit.
I found
Take
one
it
of your
back.
boats. And Brad's like, I kicked it away from the beach for a reason. I know you brought it back.
You know what I was
It
about
took
to say?
Smokey 20 years to ask me why I did it. And when I told him, he didn't balk it. He's just like, I know.
But what I was starting to say though, like, you know, people coming up to Alaska, they talk about, you know, how dangerous it is and whatever else, you know, getting attacked by bears, you know, the things that people
Fuck
are
the
worried
bears.
about. But
mean,
the
okay.
river is the most dangerous part of it. That's what I took away from, you know, my trips up there, you know.
By far the most dangerous thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get in more trouble a lot faster on the river in them boats than doing anything else.
Yes.
The
without a
critters
doubt.
are like your own. If you let your guard down, you're your own worst enemy.
Wouldn't be
When
the
you
Bears
drop
that
your
I'd be-
guard, you're screwed.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
And that includes laying in a tent at night going, the bears aren't going to bother me.
No,
'Cause
you've
when
always
your
got to
guard is down, you're screwed. Now, if you're in a boat, a canoe, a raft, or whatever, if you think everything's going to be just fine and I'll get through this and I'll push my paddle off that tree over there and I'll be okay. You better have like 8 plans of action for every move you make.
For your tent, you guys have like bear-proof zippers on the tents.
Oh, yeah.
At camp.
Yeah.
They're left-handed. Left-handed zippers. The bears can't use them.
You would not believe how often we have guys come into camp and they don't want the cot that's closest to the door of the tent.
Because it's the
That's
door,
where the bears come
That's
in.
where the bear's going to come in.
Yeah.
The bears are very
And
conscious about
and
not
I-
wrecking
and I
the
mean,
door.
I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but I mean, I've heard there's always one guy every year doesn't
I
want to
ain't
sleep
by the
by
door.
the tent. It's like, what makes you think he's coming through the door?
Yeah, he usually walks around like that. Looks like the zipper. I've seen these before.
Yeah, I'm just going to unzip this and walk in the tent.
Yeah, if he wants to come in, he's coming straight through the side.
Anywhere he wants. He's got his own little zipper maker at the end of his paw.
Yeah, got quite a few of them.
Yeah, 5 on each hand. Zip.
Yeah,
So. No, but in 20 years, Christ, Brad and I could probably sit here and talk for 3 days about different experiences.
so I've
we've
heard a
had.
few stories,
Good-
and I'm sure
good,
I've only
bad, and
scratched-
indifferent. I mean, but in the end, it's all good. You know,
Some of them over and over.
But,
Yeah, I'm sure I've heard quite a few stories over and over again. But, you know, up there this year, you know, I heard stories, you know, that I've never heard from you guys. So there's, you know, you guys have been up there for over 20 years, like we were saying before. So there's 20 years worth of stories up there.
Yeah, there's some that really stand out they're just the ones that you just like, wow, that was nuts. Not that they were bad. It's just
I mean, what's like the
that was-
craziest thing that's ever happened to like either one of you two? Like encounters with bears or, you know, with moose or, you know, anything like that? You know, what's like not necessarily like the scariest, but like the biggest thing that made you go, wow, that was cool or crazy or whatever, you know?
I'll tell you, one of the oddest things that took me by surprise was Paulie and I had some caribou hunters one year. And we're hiking out across the tundra and stuff, and we got into this little side drainage looking for caribou, and we knew where we wanted to get to. It was a good hike, but next thing you know, we come up on this little pod of moose, and there's a good bull in the group, and this is after moose season, so it's late September. And these guys wanted to get some pictures of the moose. Well, good bull, 4 or 5 cows. I don't remember exactly right now. So we get down close to them, about 100 yards away or so, and they're milling around down there. And Paul starts making a couple calls. He's like, "Watch this. We'll show you this is how we hunt moose and call them and stuff." And just started making a few calls. Well, it's late September. It's peak of the rut.
Mr. Bull
This
doesn't
bull
want anyone
wasn't
messing.
going to have it. Well, these 4 caribou hunters are all excited because they're getting pictures of this bull. Well, he just beeline for us. And Paul and I are like, we may have just screwed up.
that was not the right idea.
Yeah, you know, and they're all happy because here comes this bull.
I have no idea what's like could
we,
potentially
Paul
be.
and I
No, I'm saying
understand
the
exactly
two-
what's about
the-
to happen.
The
We're
2
gonna get-
hunters are like
Oh,
probably
the 4
clued.
hunters who think
They're
this
like,
is
"Oh my
great.
God,
We're going to
yeah."
get some really good pictures. And Paul and I are going, we're going to get some really good pictures with this bull's antlers up your asses.
You're never gonna. Those pictures aren't getting developed.
So we're trying to get them to leave and go. We got to beat feet because he's coming. And they just don't comprehend what just took place and what's about to play out. And we're trying to get the hell off the tundra. And that bull chased us for probably close to a mile.
See,
back
that
across
bull
the
moose
tundra.
probably didn't really ask for consent. He was on his way for whatever he wanted.
He was pissed that somebody was going to move in on his 4 or 5 little cows that he had in his harem over there. And it was just, Paul and I were going, how are we going to explain a DLP on a moose?
I was gonna say, at that point, you can't defend yourself because you provoked it.
We provoked the problem, not really. We just didn't think far enough ahead as to what, we want pictures. Great. Everybody wants pictures. That's,
Well, yeah, Alaska's, incredible.
Yeah, but it took a bad turn real fast.
I did something like that with Gregory Wayne. And we were up on the Noyacook, right across from camp there. We were just cleaning up, you know. And we were fishing one day, and we pulled over the side, and just, you could see the cabin. Mm-hmm. But we were standing up there, and I don't know why we got up on the bank. Standing there doing whatever we're doing, and all of a sudden we could hear a bull grunting. Wayne's like, hey, you hear that? Yeah, I heard it, so we both threw out a couple grunts. Next thing you know, this thing's, boom, it's right in our face. Not totally aggressive about it, but we're standing on the bank. I'm looking at the boat, and Wayne's standing there, and the bull's walking around. He doesn't really see us yet. And it's after season.
Yep.
And I give it, I just did one more little grunt, and that thing turned, and it still didn't really see us, but it turned to us, and here goes a sprucey, about a 6-foot sprucey come flying out of the ground like a missile, and it's going up through the air, and I'm staring. Wayne's like, we gotta get the hell out of here.
This is going to get ugly really quick.
We're done here.
And as we're going over the bank, the bull saw us. Well, now it's coming. And we're both in the boat, and I'm pushing off. Wayne's trying to start it, and that bull come right to the bank, and he's like snorting and shit
he's
dripping
ready to
out
tell
of his
you
nose,
who's
and
boss.
I'm like, holy cow, that happened quick. Why didn't that happen a week ago?
Yeah, you want no part of him now.
Yeah. That's what they do. It's nuts.
It is. It's those unexpected things. Like you said, you brought it up. Everybody's always worried about bears. And I'm not saying
that's not a worry.
Be conscious of the bears by all means. There's no second chances with one. But there's a lot of other things out there that you start taking for granted. And like Brad said, you let your guard down and just assume that this is going to play out good. And it'll bite you in the ass every time.
Don't let your guard down.
Yeah, when you're in Alaska, you're no longer at the top of the food chain anymore.
No,
by any means, you're more towards the bottom.
No, and
you are the food chain.
You're part of it. Yeah.
No, and if something goes wrong, it's not like we're going to jump in the truck and run you to the hospital.
Yeah, it's just down the river a bit.
You might be sitting there with a broken leg and your shin bone hanging out your skin for 2 days waiting to get out because weather socked things in, and we couldn't even medevac you out in an emergency.
We had that happen.
Yeah, so you got to be prepared all the time for anything that could possibly happen.
What's like the worst injury or something like that that's ever happened? Do we have him? Is he in studio? The worst injuries in?
It happened this year. It happened this fall.
Yeah, it was funny because they were joking like when this was my first year in moose camp. I've been up a few other times doing different things. But my first year in moose camp, they were like, "You definitely got 20 years worth of experiences this year." Like it was quite a year.
Stuff happened this year, and it was nuts. And it was a misfortune. I don't know exactly what happened, but it was our camp cook. The lady, she was trying to light a Mr. Buddy heater. Something happened. The bottle wasn't screwed on. Well, there's 2 factors. I think the bottle may not have been screwed all the way on, possibly. I don't know. And we also found that on it, there was a loose fitting, and she's had it forever. She said, I've been using this thing for 10 years or whatever. But she went to light it, and boom. And, it blew the windows out of the cabin. And she got burnt pretty bad. it wasn't third degree or anything. We knew it was
Mostly first degree, some second degree burns.
a little bit of second degree where like her long johns got burnt and melted onto her skin and was kind of tough to deal with, and and she was in a little bit of shock, and it didn't seem bad where we were at. We're like, we can see the stars and stuff, and 10 o'clock at night we activated 911 on a sat phone. So on a sat phone, 911 goes to friggin' Tampa, Florida or something. I mean, this guy doesn't have a clue where we're at.
Yeah, Brad, the dispatcher answered the phone, and Brad's like, yeah, we're up here on the Mulchatna River out in the bush, and the guy's like, you're on a what? Like, he was totally clueless.
Just look for the blue address numbers on the mailbox.
Right.
Yeah. So, and I kind of figured that, and I kind of half-ass expected that, but never having to make that call before, so now it's all a learning experience. And I said, hey, I got Latin lawns for you. Okay, that's what I need. And as soon as I gave it to him, he's like, okay, I got your location. I'm gonna put you. And then they hooked us up with through the whole system. But it was really nuts because then it went back. They're calling us back. We burned the phone up. I mean, we probably burned up $200 worth of friggin' minutes on a sat phone just to confirm where we're at. And then
it took us 2 hours, just going back and forth, getting transferred, from Dillingham to Kodiak to Anchorage, back and forth with different people, trying to figure out who we were going to get to come out, with a plane or a helicopter or something to get this woman some medical assistance. It took hours just on the sat phone, because sat phones aren't the most reliable things in the world.
No, it's tough communications. It's tough out there. So when something bad happens, you could be in a world of hurt.
Well, and as it took us almost 18 hours before we finally got.
Yeah, it happened
got
at
her.
like 9 o'clock the night, that night, and we didn't get her out of there until I think it was 2 o'clock the next day.
3 o'clock the next afternoon.
Before we could get a helicopter.
Because of weather.
So
and other things.
As guides, are you guys like certified with any sort of first aid or anything?
You have to be certified first aid. And
So that's like a requirement to be a guide.
That's a requirement to have an assistant guide license or greater. You have to carry a first aid card.
So you guys were able to, do as much as you could to stabilize
as much as you can. But that said, there's a limit to what you're going to do in the field.
When someone's got that much of their body second degree burn.
Her lips were bleeding because that thin skin on her lips, it blew it right off. So her lips are bleeding. Her hair, she had hair that was down to her butt, and it was gone. She looked like the Dutch boy paint haircut because when it went off, it went off.
Oh yeah.
So.
It had nothing to do with her injury. Our first aid kits only have so much, and we've gotten
prepared
stuff.
in the
You
field.
say, you can't expect
treat
for
a
that to
trauma
happen.
patient. You're ready to.
That's why there's helicopters,
Yeah.
But it's I don't even know what to say. It's crazy. It blew up. Stuff happens.
And it's not as easy to get help out there as it is here at home in the lower 48.
Dial 911 and they're there in 15
someone's there in
minutes.
15 minutes. So
Where we were at, we're what, 200 miles from Anchorage?
300 from Anchorage.
300 from Anchorage.
Is that the closest civilized area?
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, there's villages all over the place.
Yeah, but there's not a hospital or paramedics at Equok.
No.
Yeah, so you're waiting on a plane or a helicopter to fly in from 300 miles away.
And they tried to send that helicopter 3 times, I believe.
Three to four times they tried to make it.
And they just couldn't get through.
The weather was too bad.
The weather was too bad between us. It wasn't, like Brad said, it wasn't bad where we were.
And it wasn't bad where they were, but
in between.
You got 300 miles, there's a lot that could happen.
There's a lot, exactly.
They sent a C-130.
And to circle us and verify our location.
Verify it, and then they said they were going to send 2 paratroopers out because they could see our field, which was the old outfitter was going to clear a runway, which had 4-foot punji sticks of trees.
Yeah, would have been
all
a bad
the way
idea.
through it. We're like, please don't let them guys jump into that. It's not safe.
Yeah. It just
And
made
we
a bad
explained to
situation
them
worse.
why, and they said, okay, we aren't going to do that. Is there anything we can jump to? I mean, they were doing everything in their powers to get to us.
They wanted into our camp to
Yeah.
help this lady.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
but
sure,
you're just
yeah.
in such a remote place. There's
Yeah.
only so much that can be done. You know,
And, you know,
it's,
in the dark with variable weather, you know, there's limits, and you got to be ready to tough that kind of stuff out sometimes.
No, that's incredible that you guys are able to you have first aid to keep her at a stabilized point because help isn't 15 minutes out. I mean, you have
And sometimes the most you can do is just try to keep someone comfortable.
keep them talking or something, just keep their mind
Right.
off of it. Sometimes that's all you can do.
Yes. So, but it was, other than that, it was a pretty good year up there. We had a lot of good things happen. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
You
yes,
know,
we didn't
met
even
a
get
lot
it.
of really good people.
We didn't even get into how you guys did it. This is your first year with
First
Alaska
year
Elite
with
Outfitters.
Alaska Elite Outfitters.
So what all were
I'm
you guys hunting?
looking forward to going back.
What were you all hunting up there this year with Alaska Elite Outfitters?
In the fall, it was mainly moose and brown bear.
Moose and brown
You
bear.
know, you're allowed to take an incidental wolf, or I think then someone shot a wolverine, didn't they?
yeah, one guy did get a wolverine.
Yeah. I thought so. You know, so there's other incidental animals that are available, but it was mainly a moose and brown bear.
So
kinda
if you
hunt.
were to, book a hunt with Alaska Elite Outfitters, moose, brown bear, what exactly can you expect once you get there? Like, how long is the hunt? And
Most of the hunts are like the brown bear hunts are a 10-day hunt. The moose hunt is an 11-day hunt. It runs the 5th through the 15th.
Unless
Okay.
you do a combo, then you start early. You start, I think, on the 1st or 2nd,
Something like that. Yeah,
and then you
depending on,
go to the 17th.
yes.
So
So you pick up some extra bear hunting days.
bear hunting
On
days.
either end of the
You're
moose
primarily hunting moose on a combo hunt, and then what you're hoping for is you put a moose on the ground, you hunt that gut pile, which would be your ultimate.
Which increases your odds of finding a bear. You know, it's just like we were talking earlier. It's thick country. You're not just going to go walk around in it and think you're going to put a stalk on a brown bear.
yeah. So how you guys, like you said, it was your first year. How did this season go with your clients?
Oh, I thought it went pretty good. I was really happy with the clients we had in camp. I thought they were really easy to get along with.
What
Clients
size
were
moose? I guess what size
fantastic.
moose are you guys getting when you're up there? I mean, obviously it's
Well,
free range, so it's not.
Right. We have in Alaska where we're at. We have a 50-inch or 4 brow tine minimum. So you're not going to shoot a moose that doesn't look like a moose.
Yeah, I mean
know.
that's a 50 inches
And-
wide. That's a big moose.
And we had 8 hunters in all of our camps chasing moose this year, and 5 of them took home moose, and only one of them was under that 60-inch range.
Wow.
Most of them were 62 to 67 inches. And I take that back. We had 2.
Too.
Yeah, but
Two,
the
but-
one that was, actually it was the narrowest one that was 53 was one of the more impressive moose. It just wasn't shaped quite right to get that spread. It was an incredible scoring moose. If you would have measured the paddles and everything, it was very, very impressive.
So it still would have scored high, like on a Boone and Crockett
Oh, yeah.
score. It was just the spread wasn't there.
It didn't generate spread. Just
So
just
I
the
don't.
shape.
I know nothing about scoring moose. I know that they have a Boone and Crockett system, but it's not. It's not like Whitetail.
But
obviously.
it was an impressive looking moose. It
Yes,
really
I've seen
was.
pictures, and I need to get up there, but seeing the pictures of all the moose you guys got this year.
Yeah, a
are
lot
insane.
of the moose I think we've posted on our Instagram at different points since
Yeah,
I've been back.
couple
from
moose
Alaska.
Mondays we've had.
Yeah, Moose Monday. Check it out.
But no, I mean, overall evaluation of the hunt, I was really happy with with Alaska Elite Outfitters. Mike Vanstrom, good guy. He put up with Brad and I through all of our little.
We might be a little rough
Antics.
on Mike.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say
but-
putting up with Brad's quite a task.
But he's a good guy, really is. Looking forward to going back and working with him again.
And he put you guys up in a nice Airbnb this year, or this for
Oh
Harrisburg
yeah.
as well.
We're doing the Harrisburg show for him. He set us up in this marvelous
Yeah.
little B&B.
Gold star, like
Yeah,
seven,
I mean, Brad and I,
7 out of 4 stars.
Brad
it had,
and Whitey and I,
think.
we all got down here to spend our first night, and we were going to get closer than we've ever been before in our entire lives.
I think Frank said it was like a children's bed with a cage around
It
it.
did, yeah.
And an industrial can of
Yeah.
bed bug spray.
So instead, we ended up here at the $50 cash hotel.
Yeah, cash only hotel.
Hey, this is 5 stars compared to where we started.
Yeah.
But no, like all joking aside, Mike's a good guy. Looking forward to working with him again.
No, I got to meet him last year at Harrisburg.
And he didn't hesitate. Anytime we asked for something, felt we needed something, he did everything he could to make sure it was there and available for us.
Oh, it seems like he runs a very
Yeah, he definitely takes care
program.
of.
He's
He
professional
tries.
about
He
it.
does everything he can. Obviously,
Not just
his
taking
success
care
rate
of
seemed
us.
incredible with those
He's
guys.
not just taking care of us. He's that way with all the clients too. If
Yeah.
we say, this is something we need in camp to make the clients hunt or stay in camp more comfortable.
Yeah, any way he can do it, he
yeah.
does it.
Well, and he's kind of putting you guys in the location where you're guiding.
Correct.
So I mean, he knows his shit. He's putting you guys in areas where you're killing several moose over 60 inches. So I mean, like the
Yes.
guys
No,
sounds
he's
like
been,
pretty.
he's been there and done it, so he sees it.
He's been in
There
this
you
area.
go.
Like Brad and I were talking, we cut our teeth up there, not far from him, but we were more up the Nushagak drainage. Mike cut his teeth on the Mulchatna
Right where you
River,
guys are
right
at.
where we were at.
So that's his backyard. and
Yes.
he's
So
he's been around.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good feel for it, and he's been pretty darn successful.
And as close as it is to each other, there's such
Worlds
a difference
apart.
as what the style of hunting you do. It blew our minds this year a little bit. I mean, we did okay, but there was a difference that we had to overcome. And where we were at, we felt more pinned to the river, so to say.
Yeah, and I was never over where you guys were at before
Yeah.
moose hunting, but I definitely felt that way. Even though not knowing where you guys were at before, it was very confined to that river corridor. You
Yeah.
were in the river bottom for the most part. I mean, you and I and your client went up into the hills and into the mountains a couple of times,
Yeah.
looking for bears and stuff. But
There
when
was
you
a
were
small window where you could do that,
yeah,
an
exactly.
area where
There,
you could do
it wasn't
that.
really accessible to. It wasn't like a 20-minute walk, and you were out of all the, the willows and the
Yeah.
shit that you could actually hunt. There was only a few little access points to get to those mountains and those, the open places to bear hunt where they're browsing for berries and stuff. But other than that, you were, especially for moose, you were in the river bottom, which made it real easy for me packing, like we were talking about earlier. You could make that hunt as simple as possible. Just you pull up on the riverbank and hop up on a little bluff. You walk a couple hundred yards from the boat and you're in a prime spot. As good a spot as any in Alaska to find a 60-inch
Yeah,
moose.
that timber line was really squeezed in by the tundra, and that's where the moose are hiding. And you find, you had them bottlenecks like that, and they're less than a mile wide.
Yeah, there's
And
only
you
so
could
many
call
places
from
they
one,
could be.
Off the river, you're calling the whole length of that, the width of it, I should say.
Absolutely.
And it's like, hell, what? We don't gotta walk out there. If he's there, he's gonna talk to you. It's like that, that hot turkey. If you're gonna chase him, he's gonna see you before you see him. And where's
Yeah,
he
that's
gonna
for
be?
sure.
He's gonna be on the next ridge, So everyone wants to dive in there. It's a tough thing.
What
But,
kinda, what's like the terrain like where you guys are like moose hunting? Like I know it's right on the river, but I mean, is it like real bushy or like woodland or
Real thick.
Really thick,
Alders, willows. We get some birch trees, spruce
well, if you
trees.
get the birch, you got a little drier ground, but
but
But like in the river bottom on the gravel bars, it's pretty much just willows.
yeah.
okay?
yeah, and it's thick. It's not something you're gonna walk.
You're not,
through
you're
quiet.
not gonna walk into and
not a walk in
set
the
up
park.
shop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Set up
Yeah,
a
yeah.
big old ground blind and wait it out.
The archery hunter generally says, "I wish I would have brought my rifle."
Really?
Yeah,
It's tough.
it's a
It's-
tough.
It's thick and it's tough. It's not.
I'm not saying you
There's
can't
no gimmies.
do it. It's don't go out there on your first hunt and do an archery hunt. We've had some of the best guys out there. I know they're good. You just know they're good, and they're bewildered by what they're faced with. They're like, this is nuts. You know, how do you get that animal into the hole where they can use their equipment, their bow? I don't care
Yeah.
if they're shooting a long bow or a compound or a crossbow. It's like you got to have some open ground,
Yeah.
whether it be 10 feet or 20 yards. And sometimes that's just not presentable where you're at. That bowl's there, you can see it, but it's like there's dog hair all around it and every
Yeah,
dog
nothing
hair
but
is a
willows
willow
hanging
tree.
right in front of them. You
Yeah.
can't get an arrow through all them willows.
You can try.
Probably not going to
isn't
go
gonna
well.
happen.
It's always amazed me how many times we've had moose that were 30 yards from us in those thickets, and you couldn't judge them yet. This is a 1,500-pound animal with 60 inches antler on his head, 30 yards away, and I can't tell you
If he's legal to shoot.
if
or
he's
not.
got 60 inches antler or not. I can't tell you if he's legal, and it's
You know if he has two antlers.
yeah, honest to God, I've had that. You couldn't tell. And
I think this is my point where I can tell Brad to get closer to the mic.
Yeah, I think it applies
Yeah.
here.
Well, I'm peeing. Oh, wait a minute, I can still do that.
Guess we're even now.
But yeah, it's that thick and nasty in there that you can have a 1,500-pound animal 30 yards from you and not have a clear view of them. You know, and you find it hard to believe, but it's the truth. You know, and so many guys, I think, they come up here. You know, I don't care where you go in the United States, you've got whitetail hunters.
Oh,
Everybody-
Yeah, definitely.
Everybody across the
I mean,
country.
they're in, the lower 48. They're in every state.
Correct. You know, and so many guys come up there with that concept of whitetail hunting in their head. And, you know, they go and they hunt their 50, 60, 100, 200 acre farm or whatever down here in the lower 48 where every single twig, stick, bush,
Yeah,
tree.
you've been in this
if
area
a tree
before.
falls over, you recognize it on your own piece of ground. We're up there, you don't get that same perspective for your hunting ground. You learn
Probably
it.
feel pretty small.
Well, like
Yes.
even like people have trail cams out. You see a buck frequenting an area here in PA. There's these 5 bucks that are always in this part of the square. A mile by a mile square.
Yeah.
But even just this year when we were up in moose camp, or the one guy Tommy, he saw a half rack bull that would have been a beautiful bull. He said it probably would have been
70
close to a
plus,
70-inch
70 plus.
bull. But it was a half rack, so it wasn't legal. And he saw it one day, and then a couple miles down the river, was it 2 days later? Brad
2
saw it. That moose covered miles of that
I'd like to know
river
what-
bank.
I think it was about 6 miles.
I'd
from
like to
where-
see the size of the moose
Yeah.
that busted that off.
Yeah, that's
That-
what we
that-
were saying.
Yeah, that's exactly what we said. Where's the other guy?
Where's the one that did that?
You think this is bad? You should see the other guy. Man,
But I honestly felt like the moose that we were seeing and that we successfully harvested or killed were travelers. They weren't like that.
so you're
resident,
almost in like a
wasn't
passing
that
area.
resident moose that was just sitting right there. They were
I
working
believe you
that,
on that. That-
river
well,
corridor
we had that
and
conversation,
traveling
yeah,
through.
it's all-
So you had that window of tonight or tomorrow morning, or something. It was a narrow window to catch that animal at any given point in the river as he came through.
And that goes back to you could stand in our tent and step down to the river's edge
And if he's coming
and
through,
shoot a trophy bull while you're taking a leak.
Yeah, you never know
and
when
brushing
he's
your
going to come
teeth.
walking by.
Yep.
yeah, because again, it's that
Don't
pre-rut. They're moving to where they're going to do their main rutting and breeding.
Don't think for 1 minute because you're not standing out
20 miles
Well,
from
we
camp.
didn't leave camp yet. When we going hunting?
Why
Buddy,
isn't your gun
when
in
you,
your
when
hand?
you opened your eyes this morning and it was dark, you were hunting.
So
Yes.
yeah, when you're part of the food chain, you're hunting as soon as you get
Yeah.
in there.
Yes.
And it doesn't stop till you get out.
Well, you got to listen. I mean, how many times have we laid in camp? You hear that bull grunting 2 o'clock in the morning. He's 400 or 500 yards behind the tent. You're
Yeah.
going, well,
You can
he's
hear him
right
that
here.
far.
Why would we leave
Oh
camp?
yeah, you'll hear them when them moose
About how
fire
far?
up.
Like if you can hear a moose, I guess how far could he potentially be?
Oh, 600-700 yards. I mean, it all depends on how hard he fires up. You know?
I guess I didn't realize they were that loud. I mean,
Well, they can be.
I've heard like the
Yeah.
the calls, like the old coffee can with the string deal. I didn't realize how loud.
That'll- good call,
Well,
actually.
you don't understand how quiet it is out there. You got to understand that. That
Yeah, that
sound,
probably makes a big factor too.
that's a huge factor. That sound, when we sit here and say we're trying to hear a mile away, and that's what you hear, and it's a mile away. It's not unworkable. That's what we're trying to hear, and we can't hear. We're old, and I got a
Definitely
lot of
very old.
Yourself.
yeah, very old. And,
What'd you say?
I'm not old
What?
yet. I'm just fat and bald.
yeah, but it's a real soft. You hear that? It's a mile away, but in the middle of the night, it's so quiet up there.
Carries.
It just carries, and it's like, and it's a mile away. You're just going like, that sucker's out there. And
That's
he's
incredible.
over-
I had no idea that you could hear him that far out.
I mean, like he said, it's that quiet. When you think about it, no matter where you're at in Pennsylvania,
You can
hear a car.
There's road noise.
Yeah, you
something.
can always hear something that's interfering with your sound. But
Yeah.
in the middle of the night, when you're
Neighbor's
300
wife
miles,
screaming at his husband.
yeah, exactly. But in the middle of the night up in Alaska, when you're 300 miles from anything, any little sound, you're gonna hear it for quite a ways. Especially if it's a sound you're listening for.
yeah.
and you got it. It takes me a few days for my head to settle down and get rid of all that noise, and then I'll be laying there in bed at night, and it's like I just heard something. It's out there a ways, or no, that's really close. And you can hear a bear. You hear the claws, and they're 150 yards away from you. They're down by the boats.
You can hear him on the ground.
You
That's
can
a-
hear You can hear their
I
toenails
gotta get up
clicking
there.
on the rocks. You hear this click, 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 and it's like that's a bear walking down at the boat.
Yep, guaranteed.
Did I just say effing bear? I'm sorry, Mom.
That's all right. They won't even know about it.
All right, but.
It's gonna get a big beep.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, you hear them claws clicking on the rocks, and it's 150 yards away, and it's like, what's that? And eventually you get in tune to it. As soon as you hear it, it's like, damn, he's in camp.
Yeah.
But
it's like wow, that's really cool to. Oh shit.
We might want to think about this.
yeah.
No, but it's cool when you're laying there in bed at night and you're always, when you're falling asleep, your ears are tuned to just everything out there. You just can't wait. And, one night it might be a moose grunt. Another night it might be that bear walking. One of the coolest things to hear is when the wolves light up.
Yeah, when they light up.
I
man,
love when them wolves light up and you start hearing them things howling for,
they're
They're actually loud. You can really hear
they
them
start
for miles.
ripping.
and they might be 50 miles away, and it sounds like they're right in your friggin' tent with you, and you're going, what the
But
heck?
I don't think there's a cooler sound to listen to at night up there than when you start hearing a couple of wolves from a pack talking back and forth for miles.
Two
and
different
miles
packs,
apart.
yeah.
It's just, in a way, it makes the hair in the back of your neck stand up, and in another way, you're just sitting there going, that has got to be one of the coolest sounds to ever listen to.
Yeah.
Midnight,
Yeah, that's awesome.
crisp,
When-
clear, cold, and then wolves start firing up.
Yeah, that's when you really feel like you're out there. You're
Yes.
out there with them.
Hey, I'm in the food chain, boys.
Yeah.
You gotta try this sometime.
But that's kind of the thing that I've grown to really enjoy more than anything is just being out there.
Yeah, more than the hunting aspect.
Oh yeah, I mean,
So that's what keeps drawing you back to Alaska. Is
it's everything
the
that
experience
happens
and
that
the
doesn't
nature of
involve
it.
killing something is what keeps me going back. We've met a lot of really good people. We've had a lot of crazy experiences, good, bad, and indifferent. And
9 times out of 10, they're all good people.
oh yeah, absolutely.
You get along with them or you don't, and even
But-
when you don't, in the end, it's like
They're still good.
you have to understand They came out there to do it, and they did it.
Well, they're like-minded people. I mean,
Yes.
they're out there for the same reason you're out there. So I mean, even
Right.
if you don't
I
agree
mean,
with
anytime
everything,
you go meet 30 people, you're not going to like strike
Fall
up.
in love with
you're not
all
going to
of them,
become
yeah.
best friends with every one of them, but you learn to appreciate
and respect
Yep.
their
and respect every one of them and stuff.
Yep.
And like I said, they're all good people. Just because one guy maybe doesn't march to the exact same beat that you do.
And especially like with hunting styles, because like even with whitetails, there's so many different hunting styles that people have to do a certain thing. You know, like we were saying earlier, for you to say, you know, this is the way you do something, and like you get hunters like elk hunters. I've heard you guys talk about, you know, they're like, you know, we got to go, and it doesn't mesh with Alaska. So you get so many different walks of life just in the hunting industry. You know, different things people do that you have to kind of work with, and you know, the hunting style doesn't match up, but you still got to work with those people and try to teach them and explain to them, you know, this is how you have to do this style of hunting. You know, it's just that much different, and people, you just got to bring them up to speed with that.
No, and sometimes you just got to go take a day and do what they want to do, just to help get it out of their system. And accept, okay,
We did it your way.
we're going to spend a day that isn't going to be very beneficial. You know this in the back of your mind, being up
Yep.
there doing it.
But it, like you said earlier, if it makes you feel like you're more comfortable with the hunt, your success is going to be better because you feel this way. If you make the client feel that way, then they're going to be more on board with what you want to say.
Correct. Yes. So sometimes you give in a little bit, do what they want to do. Maybe we know it's not going to be the most productive day, but it makes them feel like
It's a learning experience
Correct.
for everybody.
yes. And most of them realize by the end of the day that, yeah, this wasn't such a good idea.
these
didn't-
guys know what they're doing.
There's a reason why I'm paying them all this money.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Brad was saying, in the end, most of them, you made a lot of really good people, make good friendships, good acquaintances, and you look forward to seeing them again at some point in time, whether it's up there in Alaska again, or maybe you bump into them down here in the lower 48 for some reason.
Yeah, I'm
Hopefully
sure you
you
run
come back
into
here and
past
hunt
clients
with
at
us. What-
Harris, you know, like here at Harrisburg or at other shows you go to.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So we've been kind of went off on a little while. We've been over like almost an hour and a half now, and
I didn't know I could talk that long.
I know. And,
Yeah, I'm sure you guys could talk for another 2 days
Yeah.
about all the different
that's
stories
what
up
part
there.
two's for.
It's
But,
funny, a lot of the stories you sit here talking like this, and you try to remember
Oh, we
stories.
got off
And you
the
can't even
tangent
think of most
from the
of it.
original damn question. I think we're so far out of the friggin' works.
I don't even remember the first question.
Yeah,
if it
what
got
the hell
answered.
was the first question?
But
But a lot of times,
How'd you get
try
there?
to think of
I don't
stories
know.
and you don't remember them. But when
Yeah.
you get talking, and then all of a sudden someone will say
Everything's coming
something,
back.
and it'll just
Yeah.
spark another old story, about a boat sinking, or
Yeah.
something that went right or wrong or indifferent or whatever. And it
Boat
doesn't-
sinking will be in episode 7 someday.
Yeah, I'm
maybe.
sure you
Yeah.
could have a full 2-hour episode on boat sinking.
I threw Brad's wife right out of the boat into the river.
but we
Yeah,
as me and Frank like to
She liked it though.
yeah.
He's like, this is so exciting. Brad and I are like,
This
we're
is
9
so
miles
fun.
from camp with a boat at the bottom of the river, and you're thinking this is exciting.
Yeah, I want to marry this one, Frank.
That's the truth. That was her first words. This boat went down to the bottom of the river. It's up like this, and shit went everywhere. And Brad throws her up on the bank, and I'm going in the water after the boat.
And I watch the toolbox sink in the
Right
deepest
underneath the
hole of
river.
I'm
Yeah.
going, oh, shit.
And her first response was, "This is so exciting."
Yeah.
Like,
You two are like, shut the hell up. We got to get that boat out of the water. We got to find this,
we were
this,
literally
and this.
9 miles from camp. We had to
Yikes.
float it once we got the boat off the bottom of the river and bailed out, the motor's swamped. We had to float all the way back down to camp. Our tools are
No,
all
we
at the
got it
bottom of the
fired,
river.
Frank. Remember?
We did, yeah, with 2 Gerbers
We had those Gerber multipliers. Thank God for
for
them.
the Gerber multiplier.
Yeah, I said Gerber. I want a little kickback.
We didn't have old Leathermans back then.
You
We
get
had
them on
Gerbers.
podcast.
they're tuned in.
Anyway,
No, yeah, we
I used my Gerber multiplier, and it saved our life. 3 of us. And I got married and had 3 kids. It was beautiful. I'll stop at the divorce.
I was just going to bring that part up.
We won't get too much into that.
for another episode. I think.
That's good, though. Other than that, it's all good.
So Gerber knives creates love.
That was only one of 2 boats I ever sank.
One of 2.
The other one I threw John Henderson out of the boat.
He
That
broke
boat I
it.
didn't sink completely. That was more of a partial sinking. The motor never really shut
You
off.
planted him on the beach.
No, I threw him right over my head. The boat went up the bank and he went completely over my head and landed face first in the river. He wasn't impressed with me at that point, JJ.
He got over it.
He did. He still likes me.
We might see him at the show this week. I'm surprised we didn't see him today. Smokey said he always comes up on a weekend.
He actually had an accident here not too long ago. He fell and broke his neck.
Yes, he's got pins in his neck, but
Yeah.
Smokey thought he and Bruce Trapp were going to make it.
These are a couple guys that
Yeah.
used to come up and hunt with us all the time and guided with us at early years.
John actually became a guide pretty much the same way we did.
came
Through a
up
buddy
one-
that went on a hunt. And,
Well, John actually came up hunting
He came up on a hunt and
and
ended up guiding.
ended up sticking around and helping out and getting a guide license. And there's actually quite a bit of that takes place.
I was
Guys
gonna
come
say,
up
I'm
here-
sure there's a lot of people that are from the lower 48 because pretty much everybody that I've met up there is from the lower 48.
Yep.
And they go up there on a hunt and they just love it and just
Oh,
keep on
they-
going
Don-
back and end
Donnie
up working.
Young.
Yeah, Donnie
Donnie
Young.
Young
was one of those 3
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
that I initially sent to Smokey. There was Donnie
Hell,
Young, VJ, and Rick
Yeah.
Moran. You know,
Donnie Young, hell of a guy, and he's coming. I think we might have him coming back. He just got his knee replaced here, so he's
yeah. Is it a knee or a hip?
hip. Yes,
Hip. Yeah.
I know his knee's messed up too, but they went after the hip, so he's doing that. Yeah, maybe we'll see him this.
But that's how that whole friendship thing
Yeah.
just kind of.
Just-
You go from not knowing somebody to all. He didn't live that far from us.
You're out there hunting in the world, and you see some stranger. Don't be a
one thing leads to
dickhead.
another, and now you got.
And say
new
hi
friends
to
back
him,
home.
and maybe he'll be something to you someday.
No, for sure. Before we cut the podcast out, me and Frank like to do a write it in pen, which is basically, our guests give some sort of tip or information to our listeners that they're going to want to write in pen so they don't lose it. So we'll start here with my Uncle Frank. If you had, one thing, whether it's related to life or guiding in Alaska, to leave everybody with something that you'd want them to write in pen, what would it be?
I guess I'm going to tell you, and it's something we mentioned earlier today, that if it works for you and keeps you in the outdoors, keep doing it. I don't care if your buddy says that's a bad idea or that's stupid or that doesn't work or, you don't have the right piece of gear on. If it works for you and keeps you in the outdoors, keep doing it.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, no matter what it is, if it's Alaska, whitetails, with calls or gear that you wear, if that's what you are comfortable in, that's what you think is the most successful thing for you.
If it builds your confidence.
Keep doing
That's
it.
the most important thing, is just to keep your confidence up and
Yeah.
you feel like that's the way you should be doing it.
Yes, keep it up.
Brad, if you had to leave our listeners with one thing to write in pen so they don't forget, whether it be life or hunting related, what would you leave them with?
I agree totally with Frank and Whitey just said, and kind of spinning off our whole conversation. I think a lot of what we said tonight was all, if you kind of listen to the backside of our stories and everything, it's like we're saying it, but the other part of that is friggin' have fun. Just have fun. Don't worry about what that friggin' TV's saying or what those guys out there are doing. If you go out and have fun and enjoy it,
Yeah,
you
whether you
enjoy
kill
it. Don't
something or
worry
not.
about
Why are you doing it if
Killing,
you're not?
killing's
Yeah.
not the important thing.
Don't worry about what somebody else thinks or what are they going to think if I don't come back with something. No. They didn't go because they couldn't afford it or they were afraid that they wouldn't get something. Go out and enjoy it. Relax and have fun.
Absolutely.
And enjoy your
Absolutely.
friends. Make new friends. Enjoy the moment
Absolutely.
for what it is.
Those are some two very good write-in pens for sure.
Yeah, I got my pen out. My quill is wet. I'm writing them
Yeah,
down.
quill's wet. Whitey, why don't you run everybody through where you can find Alaska Lead Outfitters this week while they're in Harrisburg one more time?
Yeah, like we said, walk around. If you're in Harrisburg, if you're not, come down just for the fun of it. It's a great place. There's thousands of outfitters and different things in, the farm show complex. We, Alaska Lead Outfitters, you'll find me, Dad, and Brad in the booth. It's booth number 6022, I believe.
Yes,
that
it
right?
is.
6022.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's where you can find us. Come hang out, talk, maybe buy a hunt if you feel like it.
Definitely buy a hunt.
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards the buy a hunt part. But yeah, that's where you can find. That's where you can find us. You can also
Just bring
find.
cash.
Yeah.
Life's short. Write the check.
Yeah. You can also find Alaska Lead Outfitters on Facebook. Just look up Alaska Lead Outfitters, and you can find Mike Vanstrom, the owner of the outfits, all his information on there. So if you want to book a hunt just off of this podcast, hit him up on Facebook. And you can also find Whitecat Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram, and make sure you follow our YouTube channel, which you can listen to the podcast on there. We're on pretty much all the major podcast platforms now.
Our website as well has all of our podcasts.
Yeah,
you can do a little reading on who the guests are and learn a little bit about us.
Yeah, definitely. So that's where you can find Alaska Lead Outfitters and Whitecat Outdoors. And Nick, I'll let you take us away.
Oh man. So as everybody knows that listens to the podcast, we're all about getting outside, whether it's for hunting or fishing or hiking or whatever. But I want to make sure that, if you're coming down to Harrisburg, make sure you're stopping by Alaska Lead Outfitters, say hello. Make sure that it's the Alaska Lead Outfitters with Frank, Brad, and other Frank, Uncle Frank, that's getting you guys outside this year.